Well, hello everyone and welcome to a new video, and this one's been very eagerly awaited, and it's about time we finally got some karting onto my YouTube channel. So, with the first test being at Paul Ricard next week for my GT3 drive, I thought I haven't driven anything in real life since last year. I've only been doing sim stuff, which is not ideal. So I thought I'd go to my local track, Sandown Park in Esher. Daytona Motorsport has a track there, and I do one of their D-Max sprint races. 20-minute long race, 10-minute long qualifying. It means I'm going to work for it, I'm going to get cold, wet, it's going to be uncomfortable, but it gets me in the right state of mind and physicality ahead of the first test. And to be fair, it's just a good laugh. Right then, without further ado, let's get into qualifying and see what is what. Right, so we're leaving the pits just for qualifying and practice. First time we've been in a kart for, oh god, at least a year. Oh no, just under a year. But yeah, we're onto the track. Tyres are going to be cold, very smoky obviously because the engines are all cold as well. And into turn one, you can see massive wet patch from the entry to mid-corner, which is not ideal, and we got warned about it in the driver's briefing. To be fair, it's not the only corner that has this problem. So you can see the majority of the track is bone dry, which is nice. The tyres have no grip, by the way, and you can see on the exit of this corner, again, massive wet patch. I think it's because there's a horse racing course right next to the track, and obviously the water just flows at random points throughout the circuit because it's on a hill. So you can see on the entry into this corner, the whole corner pretty much is soaking wet. So it's annoying because you get your tyres up to some sort of temperature, then you hit the next wet spot of the track, and then you've lost all the temperature you built up in the first place anyway. So it's like one step forward and two steps back. Very annoying. So a little bit later on into the session, we're going around turn 1 and going into turn 2. Just dabbed on the rear brakes, or they're the only brakes, but yeah, the brakes too hard and the rear end came round. So a little bit of a clumsy spin while the tyres were still quite cold, but didn't matter. That's what practice is for. And we carry on, get out of the way before we get into the race. And then, right towards the end of the session, we have two karts in front of us spin there, and then I have to lift off. My kart gets to really low revs on the engine, and for whatever reason cuts out, can't get it going again. I think, to be honest, it sounded like it was flooding the engine with fuel, which, yeah, not ideal in a two-stroke engine.
Hold flag on, mate. Hold on.
Yeah, it won't start.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's flooding with fuel.
Yeah.
Ah.
Right. If it does it again, go to the pits, alright?
So the marshal comes running over, does sort me out, I do get going again, and not too long later I have the same issue once again. But yeah, anyway, I tried to carry on, and I just wanted to stay out to try and get a competitive lap time for qualifying, but you can see there on the exit of turn 1, the car again starts dying on me. Sounds like it's flooding, same issue. It's an ongoing issue, so at this point I knew I was going to go and change the car after. It was just a matter of fact if I could get back to the pits in a reasonable amount of time. So you can see just before the wet patch on the exit of this corner, I stop.
Yeah, I think it's flooding with fuel.
Wait a second. Also slow them down as much as possible.
Oh man.
Okay, hold the pedals. Try now. Don't press anything. Don't press it. Go on the throttle. Wait. Wait.
I'll go back to the pit.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, they all did a really good job in terms of helping me out. There's other stuff going on. They've got to be safe as well. So there was 19 out of 20 karts on the grid. So it was a pretty full grid. And there weren't, and to be fair, for an arrive and drive session, there was quite a few regulars who came to Sandown quite a lot, had their own kit, you know, had obviously done it before. So it was a good kind of race to benchmark myself ahead of Paul Ricard. But yeah, you can see we get going again. We quickly drive to the grid. We have to say to the marshal, look, I'm coming into the pits. Let me go to the pits.
I'm going back to the pits to change the car.
Okay, yeah.
And then what we do is we just blast into the pits, change the car, get the pedals set, and then drive around again to the grid. So it does postpone the entire event, but you know, it's for the sake of me being able to race. So that is happens.
Engine off. And I can't even fucking fit this.
When the yellows are out, just go a lot slower. When you come from your down there to your grid spot, they come through quite fast, yeah? So just remember when the yellow flags are out, slow it down a bit more, yeah?
Is it? Alright.
I can't get that brake pedal.
Yeah.
Where do you want it? Forward, back?
All the way forward, please, mate.
This to me, yeah?
Yeah, it's a bit sticky though.
It's getting worse. You didn't believe me, did you?
It's really hard to drive with my leg like
Where
that.
it isn't even wet is the worst, because everyone brings the water out and it's like a film. It's just so cold, it's almost like ice. You brake and you're just like, oh.
Give me 2 seconds.
So many yellow flags. Like a fucking 6 and 24 hours. Charles, for a fact, you're doing really well. It's the wet though, right? You know what? Because he's so heavy.
Downforce.
Yeah, it just drives over the water and it just... Yeah, it does, yeah. Basically, if you don't spin off, you're going to come top 4.
My kart died on me in qualifying.
Sorry?
My kart completely died on me in qualifying. Just shut off.
Did it?
Yeah.
Is that why you pulled over?
Yeah.
Ah, I was wondering that.
Get your money back.
Well, it just so happens the owner is right behind you.
Oh.
So guys,
Really?
let's part Bugatti him. We'll send it on him.
The guy who built them is sitting over there on the front row.
Oh, is he? There you go.
This is very incest, isn't it?
What's happened to it?
Brake pedal won't go forward, so it's like really far back.
They just get stuck every now and then because they're obviously the water and...
Yeah. Must get quite a beat in these carts.
And depends, some weekends are good.
Yeah.
Depends.
Oh, that, yes.
There we go.
You went away and thought about it, come back and it's...
That's what you got to do, isn't it? When the pressure gets you, you've got to take a couple of seconds. There you go.
Thank you.
I hope it works.
Yeah.
It's on front of you.
If it doesn't, I'll let you know.
We'll find out.
Right, then you can see we had a good old chat on the grid ahead of it. My brake pedal took a bit of force to get moving, but we finally got our pedals in the right position, and heading down towards the start of the race, I actually do wave to my girlfriend Katie, who very kindly came and watched in the freezing cold, which she didn't have to do. She was kind of the only spectator as well. You know, she enjoyed it, I think. Probably not, but that's fine. But yeah, with one corner to go, just focusing on the race start, waiting for that green flag to drop. And we start third, obviously, with the issues we had in qualifying, but you know, you can still do something with third place. So it drops, we get a decent start. The engine obviously didn't bog too hard. The guy in second does seem to bog a bit more, and we're up in second straight away. But after the brake pedal being fiddled about with so much, I didn't really know where the braking point was. So in terms of the position on the pedal, so we completely outbrake ourselves, get onto the cold bit of the tarmac with the wet bit, and then onto the marbles, slide wide back into third place. So again, not the end of the world. And the tyres were so cold because obviously the other karts had been used in qualifying. They had a bit of temperature within them, whereas mine was stone cold. So the start of the race for me was very difficult. P2 runs wide there, slides. As someone on the grid was saying earlier, when these karts go through the puddles, as we're seeing now, and go back on the dry bits, it creates like a film over the dry parts of the track, which is arguably more slippy than it being fully wet. So it does take a while to get used to it, and P1 is kind of driving off into the distance right now, but you know, I'm very well aware it's a 20-minute race. if I can just warm the kart up as quick as possible and stay within touching distance of him, the win's still on the cards. And P2, you can't see, is right on the chuff, so if he's going to go for it, I'm not going to fight him too hard. I don't want to lose too much time to P1. And yeah, the kart's all over the place. I mean, it's so slidey. The technique you have with these rental karts or corporate karts, even if it's two-stroke, it's the same with Club 100 because they're basically identical karts. There's a little bit of difference, but you know, you've got to be very aggressive. Karting, you know, notoriously is quite a smooth sport if you do own a kart stuff. But because these tyres are old, the karts, everyone feels a bit different. There's not too much power in these karts. They're not, you know, maxed out two-strokes. If we get overtaken there for second by the guy we passed earlier. You have to drive them very aggressively. So in the dry, you'd stamp on the brake, slide the car in, hold the steering straight mid-corner, and just power on the exit. That's usually how you would drive. That's how I would drive them anyway. I used to drive these a fair amount as well back in the day, you know, 6-7 years ago before I stopped karting. So I have a lot of experience with them. But it's, again, it took me a while to get used to it again. I've not karted for a very long time, so the start of the race we're getting eaten alive. You know, the fourth's right behind me, second is just in front of me, but first place is running off into the distance. So yeah, it was a long race. The start of it was quite challenging, but it was so much fun. And so slightly later on in the race, we are still behind P2 and P1, but there's a bit of traffic, so we managed to catch them up. And going into turn 1 with that wet patch, it was a bit of a fuckfest, to be fair. Went straight up the inside of second place, I think that was, and 2 back markers. First place still ahead of us, but certainly put us back in the hunt for the win. And I think there's still about 12 minutes to go, so we're finally getting used to these wet to dry transitions. I'm catching the leader. Come on. Okay, so on lap, well, I've actually forgotten what lap it is, but anyway, we go into this left-hander, 2 back markers spin in front of us. The leader decides to go through the middle of them, and we took the lead on the inside. It was such a bizarre way to take the lead, but we did. And technically it was under yellows, but it was me avoiding an incident more than me overtaking him. So we took the lead, and to be quite frank, that was the last we saw of anyone. We finally got used to these conditions. We were in the lead, we were in the groove, kept our head down, and eventually did come home to take the win. But it was a very, very enjoyable race. So nearing the end of the race, we do come up to another back marker. This lad, I can't remember his name to be fair, but he is a Formula 3 driver. So I spoke to him after the race, and he said he went from motorbikes into F3 cars straight away. So I don't know what happened to him in this race. He qualified 4th next to me on the grid, so you know, he obviously had some pace. It's just, yeah, he must have had a mare of a race, but he really defended that position. There's no blue flags in this, so Sebastian Vettel would have been going crazy. But yeah, we eventually get past him when he got on a bit of a damp spot on the exit and overtook him. I think that was the last major thing that happened before the end of the race. So let's take you through the final lap of the race. I was in the lead by about 5 seconds in the end when we came across the line. So down this long straight, the kart does get into almost overboost by the end of it with a 2-stroke, and then we lift off nice and smooth in the entry with the wet patch. You can really send it through here when it's dry, but with that wet patch it really does restrict it. Get the rear end out on the exit. We run a bit wide here, but keep the minimum speed up on the right. Lift off nice and smooth, then prepare yourself for a slippy exit with that wet spot, so avoid that puddle as well, because the kart will get dragged in there and it'll be horrible for you, and my footage will go down the drain as well, literally. Then this left-hander, you brake when the tarmac changes, and hug the inside for the right when it's wet especially, and then be nice and gentle with the exit, like half throttle. If you get any wheel spin, you'll lose so much time, and you potentially go in the barrier as well. Lift off, late apex. We do miss the apex on this particular occasion, it was so wet. And then just look really aggressive on the entry, flick the kart in, get it turned in, then power on the exit, get the kart sliding through the corner. Same for the final corner as well. Cross the line, checkered flag, P1, was very happy with that. And yeah, from where we came from as well, that was a good race. Fun race, adrenaline was pumping. First race I've done apart from a sim race all year, so yeah, I mean my feet and hands were absolutely freezing, mind you, but it was worth it. Good fun. And there you have it, P1. So coming into the pits, all of the paparazzi and fans cheering my name, well, my girlfriend in other words, and just coming through the pit lane, get the kart stopped.
Good race, man.
You've done this before.
Huh?
You've done this before. Congratulations.
Cheers, mate. That was a good race.
Where do you race?
This year I'm racing GT3.
GT3?
Yeah. Yourself? The suit would say you've done WEC.
Okay. Which team you've got with?
Jensen Button's new team.
Oh no, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
I've seen a poster of you the other day.
Oh, did you?
Well done. Congratulations, man.
Cheers, man. Thank you. Thank
Oh,
you.
you were Sim Boys, are you?
Yeah, I'm a sim boy. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Wow, that was mental, mate. That was horrible.
See, I'm the opposite. I've never done. I did bikes.
I can see you all over
then
the place.
I went straight into cars.
All right.
I actually do Formula 3 now.
Oh, really?
And I'm one of those rare people that's a lot better in a car than I am in a kart.
You went straight from bikes to cars?
Yeah, straight from motorbikes to cars, yeah.
Why?
No, I just like fell into it. I did radicals and then GT3 and then I did, and I'm doing F3. I did Euro Formula this year, hence the logos. But
Decent, man. Good luck. Good luck with that.
I've never tried the sim stuff though. Was it good?
And that was basically a race of Sandown Park, Daytona Motorsport in a D-Max, 20 minutes long, in the dark. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Do go and follow me on the socials at James Baldwin with 3 A's. I have changed my names on those particular social platforms. And like the video, comment, sub to the channel. As always, I do appreciate it. If you haven't, then what are you doing? But yeah, I'll leave you with the podium celebration. And until the next video, I'll see you very soon.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Again, 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you very much for coming, guys. Cheers.